Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I was reading through one of my recent training vlogs, and I had a regular viewer make a post, and they made a comment here, and I thought I would read out to you guys, and this is a lot of what I've been talking about regarding box squat depth. And he wrote, "Hey Jason, bought an adjustable TDS squat box. It was $100 on Amazon. And let me tell you, going from box squatting on my 18-inch incline bench, which 18 inches, by the way, guys, that is a standard height bench. 18 inches is the industry standard. To a 13-inch box is the most scary thing I've ever done lifting. Not only do I not have the mobility to squat up with only my body weight working on this, but sitting back is so scary. Those 5 inches make a big ass difference. I'm hoping to transition from the box squat to a normal squat once my mobility gets better. But yeah, beginners have no idea what a box squat really is until they actually sit on a real box, not a weight bench. I just tried sitting down on my bench to see how different is, and it feels like I'm barely even sitting down when I sit on my 18-inch incline bench. I can't believe I thought I was actually squatting on that thing. Wow. And guys, that is the difference between a high box and a low box. And there's a reason I have my clients low box these days. There's a reason I promote the low box. But the problem is that you can't get people to do it. They won't do it. And that's going to be a big problem for me moving forward, is that I realize the merits of the box squat. I realize how phenomenal of an exercise it is, how much it brings to the table. But there's a reason almost no one prescribes it to the public. People simply will not do it. And then they're not going to get results. I mean, historically, I've written a lot of material that's free stuff out there that gets people results, right? It gets people results because it's easy to follow. And I want to make that very, very clear. It is very easy to follow with no goofing off if you keep things with these simple protocols. It doesn't mean they're the best things. In other words, people have this idea. They think maybe if a client comes to me and they're hiring me, that I'm just going to put them on some version of my free material. Well, that's not reality. That's free material because an idiot can follow it. And it's pretty bad when you get people who can't follow it. That tells you something about them as a person. I wrote protocols that any person could follow. They're not complicated. There's very, very little chance of error in messing it up. They're all simple exercises. I mean, obviously you can get these things wrong, but they're simple exercises, tons of tutorials on, and as long as you get them close into the ballpark, you're going to be okay. They're also, again, you can look at the training volumes and the progressions, and if you just follow the stuff, you're not going to have too many problems. But they're easy to follow, and they're relatively self-explanatory. You take stuff like the box squat, which all the available data tells us that it works, and no one's going to do it because in people's heads, and it's not just that one person. This has been something I noticed dealing with clients, dealing with other people. People think that 18 inches is a deep box, and it's not. And it's nothing alike. Not only is it completely different positions as far as mobility and strength, but you lose a lot of the benefits. You lose some of the biggest benefits on recovery. Number one, the reduced axial loading. In other words, if you squat 400 pounds for work sets on an 18-inch bench, you're going to have to drop to 300 for the box. Now, you're going to get more work in your hips, more work in your glutes, everything else. You're going to go into a deeper quad stretch. You're actually going to get more tension in all those muscles and more explosiveness with that 100 pounds less. Right? You're going to get more tension, therefore you're going to get a better result. But it's going to beat your recovery up a lot more with the heavier weight up top. And that matters for how many reps too. That's something that gets brought up with some people who say, oh, well, couldn't you just do more reps and reduce the weight on whatever exercise? Like, no, because now your axial loading is prolonged. So no, and you could look at it as what had happened if you had just used the correct amount of weight and done the full range of motion. You would have got more training volume also. I mean, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So the whole point here is that people are turning it into a heavy partial. This is normally an exercise in which we are forced to use a lighter weight, but we still get fantastic muscle activation and we get superior rates of force production. All right, those are enormous advantages because we can program more volume. That is usually the biggest issue we have with squatting and deadlifting. Hopefully people understand that. That is the only thing that prevents them from being completely perfect exercises in all regard. Is what? They're hard to recover from. They are hard to recover from. Well, the box squat is a variation that's easier to recover from, that has other advantages. And it's because part of it, you're forced to use a lighter weight. Forced to use a lighter weight. And people don't get it. And it shows you how ignorant people are when I actually saw, and again, it's just people are trolls, but it shows you how stupid trolls are who don't really lift, who just follow these channels. There was someone who tried to basically do a call out of me back when I was box squatting low 400s. Right, I just started box squatting again. And I did something like 425 or 435 or something on a box squat. And this person came out sitting on an 18-inch bench, way above parallel, and did 5 for 425, like leaning, rocking the box, everything else, not even box squatting really, and on an 18-inch bench. And then tried to claim they were stronger than me. And all these idiots were running over saying, oh, he is, look at that, he's showing Blaha up. But it's like the guy's actual back squat was less than mine, considerably less. In the same phase, like provable. But people were then thinking that that's the case. And these are people who've never done a real box squat. They don't understand. They don't know. They don't understand how tough it is. And that's not comparable. Because I can tell you honestly, there is no way a sub 500 pound squatter is doing 5 reps of 425 on a correct box squat. It's not going to happen. In fact, doing that means you're probably a 550 squatter. But you can add up to 100 pounds. You can put up to 100 extra pounds on the bar by doing those differences. And so when you look at it from that perspective and you look at how hard it is and how bruising it is to the ego to squat to a low box, plus as the person said, it's scary, oh my God, I'm not used to that. I've never sat back like that deep. Yeah, exactly. It puts you into a position that you were not prepared to deal with at first. Once you get used to it, you get used to it. I mean, and it's still difficult. Believe me, guys, box squats are tough. But getting people to actually do it, because again, there's a fear factor. There's an ego factor. Now, if you just take a new client, you just have them squat to a box with their body weight at first and teach them to box squat, and you start slightly high and work them down over a couple of sessions, they're fine. It's people who've already been lifting, because to them it is so much harder. But it's the difficulty of it that brings so much to the table. But then when you look at that and you realize how much it brings to the table, I mean, you want to teach people to do it. You want to. But this is an individual who actually explained the process that he just went through. And I think it's beautiful. I think it really highlights the problem with prescribing box squats to people. Any good coach, if they really understood training, would be prescribing them to everyone. From a programming perspective. From a real human being perspective, if I wrote programs right now, and this guy exemplifies exactly what I'm talking about. Dealing with my own clients exemplifies what I'm talking about. All right, these are perfect examples. If I just wrote all my programs with box squats, everyone out there would get less results as a result of doing them. Why? Because out of every 100 people who followed the program, 95 plus of them would squat to an 18-inch bench. No matter what you tell them in the description. And there are people who stand there and say, well, I would. And I'm like, I bet you would. I bet you that you would. Because even if you think you wouldn't, you would look at it and you would just go by feel like, oh yeah, this is easy. You would, until someone specifically tells you and makes you measure it. And that would actually have to be in the description of a program, that you have to take a tape measure to the gym and build a box out of plates if you don't have a 12-inch box. So it's hard to prescribe them. And I wish that it wasn't. If it became the standard in the industry, it would be easier and everyone would be stronger and more explosive and more athletic. But You can't get people to do it. You can't. They'll go to an 18-inch bench and they won't get the benefits. They will be harder to recover from. They'll develop less power, less strength, and they'll get fatigued easier. Right? It won't work because it's not the same thing. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.